right, so welcome to another deep dive, everybody. Today, we are going to a place you wouldn't exactly think of when you think of like winter weather.
Yeah.
We're going to the Saudi Arabian desert. Our source today
Wow.
is a news article, and it's describing a recent hailstorm. And get this,
Okay.
this hailstorm was so intense that it blanketed the dunes with ice.
It really does kind of flip your expectations upside down, huh? You think of deserts
Yeah.
and you think of like scorching heat and mirages and things like that. Not exactly like
Exactly.
snowball fight conditions.
Yeah. The article describes it as hail the size of golf balls, and people are
Yeah.
sharing these pictures of this landscape that's normally just totally baked in the sun, covered in white, like completely covered in white.
Huh.
It looks like it's straight out of like a holiday movie.
Yeah, it's a really striking image for sure. And deserts, they do experience temperature swings, but this is definitely something far from ordinary.
Right.
The article cites some meteorological reports, and they indicate that a low-pressure system, and this system originated all the way in the Arabian Sea.
Wow. Okay.
And they say that played a key role.
So it's not just like a random fluke, then there's like a scientific reason why
Right.
we're seeing this like frozen desert.
Exactly. Yeah, there is, to understand it, we kind of have to dig a little deeper into how these low-pressure systems actually work.
Okay.
Basically, air rises in a low-pressure zone, right? And as that air rises, it cools down, and the moisture it's carrying condenses. In this case, though, that rising air met some really, really cold temperatures way high up in the atmosphere.
Yeah.
And that caused the moisture to freeze into hail instead of just turning into rain.
Okay, so that explains like the hail part of it.
Right.
But what about like the sheer amount of ice? Like I'm looking at these pictures,
Mm-hmm.
and it's like a thick blanket on the dunes. It's not just like a couple of hailstones here and there.
Yeah, so that's where like the intensity of the specific low pressure system comes in. It was
Okay.
really strong, and it drew in this huge amount of moisture from the Arabian Sea.
Yeah.
And then you combine that with the freezing temperatures up high,
Yeah.
and bam, you get this massive hailstorm.
The article also mentions that this isn't even the first time that Saudi Arabia has seen weather like this. They had a snowstorm back in 2021.
Oh, yeah.
Is this becoming like a trend? Or are we just seeing like isolated incidents?
That's the million-dollar question, isn't it?
Oh, yeah.
It's really hard to say for sure if any single weather event like this is part of a bigger trend, but the article does mention that. Climate change is messing with weather patterns all over the world, and deserts with their extreme conditions are especially vulnerable to those changes.
So these rare events could become more frequent in the future then?
It's definitely possible. As temperatures keep going up, we're going to see changes in like atmospheric circulation patterns, and
Yes.
that could lead to more unpredictable and extreme weather,
Wow.
even in places like the Saudi Arabian desert.
That makes you wonder what other surprises nature has up its sleeve. I mean, a hailstorm in the desert. What's next?
That's the big question, huh? And this event in Saudi Arabia, it really makes you think,
Yeah.
It's a reminder that we need to be ready for anything.
Yeah.
It's not just about like the sea level rising or glaciers melting,
Right.
Climate change can show up in some really weird ways.
It really makes you realize that we kind of just assume the planet is going to be stable.
Mm.
Like we expect certain places to act in certain ways.
Yeah,
But then you see something like this and it's like a wake-up call.
totally.
Even the places we think we know can completely change.
Exactly. And it's not just about the visuals either. These events can have some serious effects on the environment.
Yeah.
Like imagine what a sudden hailstorm would do to desert plants and animals.
Oh, that's a good point. I hadn't even thought about that.
They're adapted to dry conditions, so this would be a huge shock.
Yeah.
It just goes to show you that climate change affects everything you know, from the weather patterns to the balance of life in ecosystems.
The article also mentions that the Saudi Meteorological Center put out some weather warnings. So it seems like they're taking this pretty seriously.
Oh, yeah, they should be. While this hailstorm might be a one-off, it's definitely a warning sign.
Yeah.
We got to pay attention to this kind of extreme weather and understand what it means so we can figure out how to deal with the risks.
Right. And protect those communities that are most vulnerable.
Exactly. It's like Mother Nature is trying to tell us something.
Yeah.
Like, hey, wake up, things are changing down here.
Exactly. So what can we do about it? It's easy to feel kind of overwhelmed by all of this,
Right.
Climate change is such a huge issue.
Yeah, it is complex, but there are things we can do, both individually and as a society.
Okay.
On a personal level, we can all try to reduce our carbon footprint.
Yeah.
Make smarter choices about how much energy we use, how we get around,
Right.
and what we do with our trash.
Okay. And on a larger scale, what can we do as a society?
We need to support policies that promote renewable energy. Sustainable agriculture, conservation, those are all super important. And we have to invest in research and technology so we can understand and predict these events better.
This whole deep dive has been really eye-opening. Now, it's made me think about climate change in a whole new way.
Yeah.
It's not just about melting ice caps, it's happening everywhere.
That's the big takeaway for sure. It's a global thing with global consequences.
So what's the message you want our listener to take away from this?
Stay informed, stay engaged, and stay curious. The more we know about our planet, the better we'll be able to deal with the challenges that are coming.
Well said. This hailstorm in Saudi Arabia might seem like a world away, but it's a powerful reminder that we're all connected.
Yeah.
And the choices we make today will shape the world tomorrow. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive. It really is a reminder that we can't just sit back and do nothing.
Yeah,
We got to stay informed and be proactive about this whole climate change thing.
absolutely. Knowledge is power. And the more we understand these systems, the better decisions we can make.
Right. The article mentions that the UAE's National Center of Meteorology, they're saying that this storm came from a low-pressure system that moved in from the Arabian Sea.
Yeah.
It's kind of crazy how these weather patterns
Yeah.
can travel like that.
It is pretty wild when you think about it. I mean, it really shows you how everything on the planet is connected.
Yeah.
What might seem like just a local thing in the Arabian Sea
Right.
can end up having a big impact thousands of miles away.
Yeah.
This hailstorm is a perfect example.
It's like a giant web or something.
Yeah.
With every little thread connected to something else.
Exactly. And understanding those connections is key. If we want to figure out this whole climate system, we have to look at the big picture.
Yeah. So it's not just about what's happening right here where we live. It's about how things happening all over the world can affect our weather.
Right.
So the next time I check my weather app, I'm going to think about all those forces at play, The distant seas, the wind, it's all connected. It's a pretty amazing story.
It is, and it's a story that's changing all the time. We're all a part of it, This hailstorm in Saudi Arabia.
Yeah.
As crazy as it sounds, it's just one chapter in that story.
And what a chapter, right? Extremes, unexpected transformations. Nature can really be powerful.
It can. And I think this is a reminder that we need to be humble and respect the planet.
Hmm.
We're not in control, but we can learn to adapt.
It really makes you wonder what other weird weather we might see in the future.
That's the big question, isn't it? As our climate keeps changing, we're bound to see more unusual weather events, maybe even things we've never seen before. But instead of being scared, let's use it as a chance to learn and adapt and understand this incredible planet.
Well said. So, to everyone listening out there, keep your eyes peeled, keep your minds open, and never stop being curious.
The world is full of surprises, and there's always something new to discover.
Thanks for joining us on this deep dive into the crazy world of desert hailstorms.